Good morning. Welcome on this bright and breezy Monday morning to a session on goal setting. And what we're going to look at today is why goal setting is important and maybe one or two ways in which you can set goals for yourself and or for your business. So I'm a scientist at heart. Even though I studied marketing, I'm supposed to be a creative. But in my heart of hearts, I'm a scientist. And when people talk to me about you must do this because of that, and it sounds airy-fairy, I don't buy in. So for me, I want to understand the science behind why are we supposed to do something. So if you look at the human brain, there's a few things that's important to understand about how we operate as human beings. Our brain's a multi-sensory connecting and mapping system. So when we do anything, when we function, our brain is shooting off little, the neurons are sparking, and if those sparks create little pathways, and when those pathways connect, we form habits. So literally what it does, it's hardwiring everything. So as we are doing functions or our daily tasks, it makes routine forming easier. And that is why when you do a job like you guys do, you get better over time, because eventually when you've been doing something for years, your brain's formed these little pathways or bridges that makes the information flow. And the stronger the connection, the stronger the little bridge that the brain builds, the easier it is to do that job. So the job actually becomes second nature, and it's almost a sub-function. It becomes like breathing. And so the more we do something, the more we look at something, the more we focus on something, the more our brain connects those activities together. So where you focus your attention, you make connections. And if you're a plumber and you're doing the same work every day, your brain makes connection, that work becomes easy to do. How does this apply to goal setting? So it's not just about doing, it's also about focusing attention. So if you set yourself goals, if you write them down or you think about them every day, your brain is making connections towards achieving that, because energy flows where attention goes. Where you focus your attention, you make connections. So really the moral of the story is focus on what you really want, a goal, and then follow up with actions to entrench that new wiring. And I want to show you an example where scientifically this was proven. So brain scientists, neuroscientists, did an experiment where they showed people a picture. So if you look at these brains, the brains on the top line it's a brain scan that was taken when people were looking at a picture. Then the scientists said to the people, okay, we're going to take the picture away now, but think of the picture. Imagine that picture in your mind's eye. And they took another brain scan at the same time people were thinking about it. So you can see that when I'm looking at something or doing something, compared to I'm thinking about it, how similar areas in your brain is activated. Can you see where my arrow is? So doing or looking at the picture, thinking about the picture. So this proved that when you visualize, or when you focus on a goal, or when you even think about something, your brain is already building the pathways for you to be able to actually do that thing. And the proof lies in the pudding. And if you think of these two very famous athletes, Hestrie Klute, the South African high jump athlete who was an Olympic champion, and her world record for high jump stood for years and years and years. She used to have this weird thing where she would stand and then she would do this rolling motion with her hands, and then she would lift up her body and land. So that was her visualizing, I'm running, I'm running, I'm running, I'm running, I'm jumping, I'm over. And Johnny Wilkinson, the rugby player, had a similar thing. He used to stand like crouched with his hands in front of him, and then he would do this little up and down motion with his body, and then also go kind of, his body would go to the side before he would kick. And again, that was him visualizing, going step 1, 2, 3, 4, kick, ball goes, and it's over. So they literally visualized what was going to happen. And these are two of the most successful athletes in the world. And visualization worked for them because energy flows where attention goes. So focus on what you really want and then follow up with actions to entrench the new wiring. That is why goal setting is important. That is why in your personal life, you have to have something that you are working towards. And in your business's life, you have to have something that you are working towards. And in a business, it could literally be monthly turnover that you are working towards. Or it could be how many call outs do I get in a month? Instead of doing 5 a day, I want to do 10 a day. So the moment you put that goal out there and you start focusing on it and you start doing the things that you need to do to achieve it, you absolutely will. So how do we do this? You have to put pen to paper, okay? The moment you take a pen and you write your goal or your thing that you want to do onto a piece of paper, it becomes realistic and it is out there. Now your brain has something to focus on. Don't just lie in your bed and say to yourself, yeah, I want to do a turnover of 100,000 Rand this month. That's not enough, okay? Put pen to paper. And obviously, your plan must be whatever those goals are and whatever the plan is, it must be realistic, clear and concise and regularly reviewed. So how do we do this? I'm sure you've all heard of, sorry, I'm trying to jump the gun here. Okay, so what can we do? How can we put pen to paper? So the first thing that you can do is a daily to-do list. Okay, some people have the to-do list in their heads. Some people write themselves a list on a piece of paper or in a book or on their phone. Some people use their calendars, their Outlook calendars or their computer electronic calendars to create to-do lists and work schedules. So even a work schedule that you put in place for your staff becomes a goal. So if I'm sending you out to 5 call outs today, these are the 5 jobs I want you to achieve. If you are giving that to them at the beginning of the day already, that's a goal to work towards. Energy flows where attention goes. You can put goals in place for your sales or your income, as I just said. If you want to break that down even further, sales or income can be broken up into call outs multiplied by the average value of each call out. Your goal could be the reduction of your expenditure, whether in your personal life or in your business's life. Your goals could be projects. Okay, so if you're working on big projects, big installations, then kind of the action plan or the project plan becomes the objectives and goals for that project. And you know yourself, if you've ever worked on a job that's bigger than just a normal call out to somebody's house, if you don't put a plan in place for that project, when does what have to be done? It's a disaster from day one. So if everybody on a project understands that there's a deadline, this is where we need to be by this date, everything moves smoothly because you put that plan together. You know that on day 3, you have to order the stuff for day 5. Everybody has to work to be done with phase 1 at the end of day 4, so we can start with phase 2 on day 5. So projects are a really good example of where planning and putting pen to paper can add value. And then also, if you look at marketing plans. So marketing plans are typically the way that we would implement or work towards increasing our sales or our income. But a marketing plan is exactly the same thing. It's what am I going to do, on which date, and what do I have to have in place to make it work successfully? So your objectives and your goals Don't think of it as this airy-fairy, I would like to achieve the following. Your daily functions, your daily operations are also objectives and goals. So to-do list, work schedule, etc. So when you are putting goals in place, I'm sure you've all heard of the SMART principle. So good goals, good objectives, whether it is for a project or whether it is for a long term, have to be SMART. SMART stands for specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time-based. So I want to be a millionaire is not a SMART goal, because it's specific, I want to be a millionaire, it's measurable, $1 million, but is it time-based? No. Or sorry, actually, I want to be a millionaire is a better goal than I want to be rich. What is rich? Is it specific and meaningful? No. Is it measurable? No. I don't know what it means to be rich. For me, I might have a number, but your rich and somebody else's rich might be completely different. So I want to be rich is not a good goal, or is not a SMART goal. Sorry, I suppose it's a good goal, not a SMART goal. I want to be a millionaire is better because it's specific. There's a number attached to it, okay? But it might still not be measurable, because you might say, I want to be a millionaire in what? Cash in the bank or property and assets? So you always have to ask yourself the question, if I'm setting myself a goal, is it SMART? I want R1 million in cash in my personal savings account by the end of 2030. That's a SMART goal, okay? It's specific, it's measurable, it's R1 million. Is it attainable? That's why I said 2030, because otherwise it might not be. If I said next year, it probably isn't attainable. And is it relevant for you and your company? So your goal must align with your company's mission, okay? And time-based is probably the most important one. When you are putting action plans in place or goals in place for projects, always remember, if there's not a date attached to it, a deadline date, when's it going to happen? And especially if you're trying to communicate this to other people, it's fine. I'll do it tomorrow. I'll do it tomorrow. I'll do it tomorrow, because there's no time attached to it. So good goals are SMART: specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time-based. And always measure. If you write down your to-do list or you write down your project plan, always go back and measure it against how SMART is that goal. Okay. So typically in businesses, business objectives or business goals are divided into time periods, because not everything can happen today. Not everything can happen by the end of this month. So what I always recommend, or what I always use, is a pyramid. So if you look at a pyramid, there's a lot of stuff, there's a big base, there's a lot of stuff to be done at the bottom. So you almost want to look at your pyramid and start, you don't start at the bottom, you start at the top, and then you work your way towards that. But at the bottom of our pyramid, we're going to list all the actions that need to be done. Then we've got our short-term goals. Short-term goals can be anything from monthly to this year. So typically a short-term goal would be anything up to 12 months. And even if I don't go past short-term goals, if I'm only looking at the next year, what am I going to do in the next year? If you've got a short-term goal, there's actions to be done to be able to achieve that short-term goal. Then as we move forward, there's medium-term goals. So this week is budget week, the government's budget week, and they always have they present us with the budget for the next year, but then they also present us with the medium-term budget, which is the 1 to 3 year plan. In order to make our 1 year plans sustainable, we always need to have a slightly longer way of looking at our businesses as well. So it's good to have a medium-term plan which is typically 1 to 3 years. And then, of course, our long-term planning, which is 3 to 5 years. So long-term planning normally relates more to things like buying additional assets, expansion plans. Those are the things that cost a lot of money if it is stuff that we want to buy. If it is big projects that we want to implement in our business or changes we want to make, the long-term planning becomes important because we need to do a lot of actions. We need to make those short-term things happen. We need to make the medium-term things happen so that we can achieve those long-term plans of 3 to 5 years. Obviously, it can be longer as well, but in a business, we typically look at 3 to 5 years for long-term. Now, it's all good and well to say I need long-term objectives, medium-term objectives, short-term objectives, and I need actions to be done. How do we do this? What is the easiest or the best way to do this? So my advice to you is to start at the top, to say, okay, where do I want my business to be in the next 3 to 5 years? Okay. Then we break it down and we say, what does that mean for us in the medium term? So in order to achieve that 5-year goal, what do we have to do in the next 1 to 3 years? In order to achieve the medium-term goals, what do you have to do in the short term? And then literally, what do we have to do every day? What actions do we have to do to get there? So what I thought is that I would explain this using a little example that applies to me. And I'm sure each one of you has got something in your life that you would like to happen. Or something that you are working towards from a financial point of view. So please keep in mind the motivators that I've put up here are all personal motivators. So it's because we all own businesses. Our personal motivator is often, I want to do the following in my business because I want to do the following in my personal capacity. So let's say your motivator is you want to pay your house off by 2025. It could be you want to go on a bucket list cruise ship vacation. It could be your children are going to university and you want to put away enough money, or you want to be able to pay for their university or education in private schools, whatever the case is. So what is your motivator? And I'm internally motivated, so I like to work towards something that will add value to me personally. But this motivator doesn't have to be in your personal life. It could be in your business. Okay, so your motivator might be, I want to grow my business and franchise it in the next 5 years. That could be a motivator. So what do I have to do to make that happen? And the reason I put this in a little flag, these goals, it's a mountain we have to climb. In order to get to whatever it is that I want to do, this is a motivator, this is a mountain that I have to climb to get to the motivator, which is I want to pay off my house by 2025. Guys, please, I've just put a whole bunch of numbers on here. Don't hold me to these numbers. It's just for illustration purposes. Okay, so my business, I know that in order for me to earn enough money to pay off my house by 2025, I have to generate sales of 1.1 million Rand per annum. Okay. So smart goal, generate sales so it's specific and measurable, 1 million per annum until 2025. Is it relevant and is it realistic? Yes, in my business it is. Okay, so that's my overarching long-term goal. And even though this is per annum, I'm going to have to work really hard to do it in that way for the next 5 years or 4 years now. So it's still a long-term goal. Now what we do is we say, okay, what do I have to do to generate sales of 1 million Rand per year? Let's break it up. Okay, on the one side, I'm going to have to save money. And on the other side, I'm going to have to make money. So what is quite nice is that when you use this pyramid, because it gets broader at the base, you can break up each one of these goals into smaller little pieces in order to achieve that. Okay, so my pyramid is broken up into the saving side and into the income side. I'm only going to explain the income side further. So this is my per month. So for the next 4 years, I have to generate this at least. And what I probably should have done here is added a bit of an inflationary increase. So per month plus 4% or 3.6%, whatever it is at the moment, inflationary increase per month. So that would be a really smart goal because it's very specific. Okay, if I need to generate 85,000 Rand income per month, what do I have to do to get my 85,000 Rand income per month? Okay, number one, in my business, I know I have to do at least 5 call outs per day. I know that I have to do an average of 500 Rand per call out. Don't shout at me if the numbers are wrong. I'm just using it as an example. I have to do an average of 500 Rand per call out. And I must try and upsell on every transaction. So every time I go to the client, my staff have to offer a drain cleaning or a pipe refitting or whatever it is that you guys can do to try and upsell every transaction. Okay, so while I'm out there, let me do the following. So those are the 5 things that I know need to happen for me to get my 85,000 Rand income per month. So remember, it was long-term, medium-term, short-term, and actions was the last level of our pyramid. So what actions do I have to take to get my 5 call outs per day? I need to step up my Google ads, and I need to do knock and drops in the area where I live. Or I need to put signage on my truck, or I need to follow up with old clients, or I need to send a reminder to all my, an email reminder to all my clients. So what is it that I can do to get my 5 call outs per day? So what do we have now? We've got goals for today. We've got goals for the month. We've got goals for the year, and we've got goals for the next 4 years. And because energy flows where attention goes, I've broken it down into small, achievable bites. So for me to say, I need to achieve sales of 1 million Rand per year, or I need 750,000 Rand to pay off my house, it sounds like this huge, impossible number. But let's take that number and say, let's break it down. What has to happen over the next 3 years, over the next year, over the next week, month, week, day? And when you've broken all of these things down into the action parts, this becomes your to-do list for every day. And hopefully, by doing this, you will achieve, in fact, I say hopefully, but you will achieve that big goal of going on your dream holiday, paying off your house, putting your kids through university, whatever that motivator is. Maybe it's buying a new truck for your business. Maybe it's employing an additional team and a new truck. So pick a motivator, pick something that will motivate you, make you move forward. That little flag at the top of the mountain, look at it every day, because energy flows where attention goes. Just to end off, I also used in PowerPoint, you can do a little hierarchy. And this also works quite well if you want to do your pyramid and break it down into smaller component parts. So whether you draw a pyramid on your whiteboard in the office and break it down, or whether you go and sit in front of your computer and break it down into blocks using a hierarchy in the smart art, the same principle applies. And what is nice with these is you can keep on adding. So eventually you can have this huge hierarchy, but at the end of the day, the big thing with this way of doing goal setting and setting objectives for yourself and your business is that at the bottom of your pyramid, you've got your daily actions that you have to do. And if it doesn't happen daily, weekly, or if I didn't do it today, I better damn well do it tomorrow. Okay, guys, that is me for this morning's session. Thank you.